Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 168, our Week 4's 2-point conversation. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back to the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing today, Bernie?
I am sitting on the edge of my seat, about to lose my Week 4 matchup.
Oh no, the top seed might take a hit. We'll see how this goes. It looked more promising until that George Pickens touchdown. All right, guys, we've got a jam-packed episode for you guys today. Let's see, what are we doing today? We're going to start off with some player news. We will go through the studs and duds for week number 4. We'll also settle into a nice 2-point conversation where we go through all of the action that happened through during week 4 up to this point, and then we'll take a look at some early waiver wire targets. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get into some news and notes. Starting off with early this morning, the Sunday morning, we had a game in Dublin, and there was a surprise inactive as Jaylen Warren was inactive for that Sunday morning contest against the Vikings. Oh man, this hurts so bad. Malik Neighbors suffered what appears to be a serious ACL injury. An MRI is scheduled for later in the week. I think it's set for Monday to confirm what the team already fears to be a season-ending injury. And man, these receivers in San Francisco, they cannot catch a break. Both Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings were in and out of the lineup. Ricky Pearsall dealing with that sore knee, went in and out of the blue tent multiple times. And Juwan Jennings, who came in with a shoulder injury and ankle injury, took a hard shot to it looked like to me the kidneys. It kind of hit him in the back of the side there. Some people are saying he has a bruised ribs or what have you. What do you have on these guys here? Jaylen Warren, a little surprise action, having his backup get a big day. Malik Neighbors, ouchie, and these are San Francisco wide receivers in and out.
Yeah, okay. I start with Jaylen Warren. That was a pretty exciting game this morning. Kenneth Gainwell, he sees the lead role and he dominated. He's becoming a strong RB2 flex option, especially if Warren's knee injury lingers beyond week 4. Caleb Johnson finally got some extended playing time, but didn't look too explosive. Gainwell is likely earned the larger split there. Malik Neighbors, that is a tough break for Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson, he becomes the wide receiver 1 there for the Giants, but is more of a PPR kind of a threat than a true alpha wide receiver, so he should have some flex value. Darius Slayton, he's next in line. He might be a better PPR target with deeper routability there. And then Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. I don't know what to say about this team. Both of them were expected to play, obviously limited because of their issues. Pearsall became the focal point. I don't know what else we got here for these guys. He led the 49ers in receiving. Juwan Jennings, he had some really good looks. He went up for some high point balls, came down a little rough. He was playing really good. So I really don't know what to think about this receiving core. They kind of let me down. I really want to focus in on that quarterback play because I think Mac Jones should have started.
All right, we'll get into that a little bit more in the conversation there because I got a lot of thoughts too. Don't let me not expound upon these San Francisco 49ers when we get into that game later.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. This one was a little I'm not sure the severity right now, but Lamar Jackson exited early in the game against the Chiefs. There was some chatter that if the game was closer, he may have returned, but it seemed like the coach, Harbaugh, was kind of not responding to that chatter. So I'm not sure how severe this injury is. So this is potentially big news going into week 5. We're just going to keep him here because it's almost a running gag at this point. Did you know that Jadon Blue is a healthy scratch for the 4th consecutive game, making way for Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders to take the bulk of the carries for the Dallas Cowboys? And this is a little bit better news. Xavier Worthy.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Made his return after a 3.5 game absent, more than that, 3 3/4 game absent to the Kansas City lineup. Made an immediate impact and led the team. I don't know what he finished with, but it seemed like he led the team in receiving and rushing for a little while there. So good for Worthy, was a big time player on the day here. And Travis Hunter, I actually didn't catch on to this game until the second half, so I didn't notice until I looked back later. But they said that he was not on the offensive side of the ball for the first half of the game. The coach said it was kind of they're going to leave that in-house. So I'm thinking it was some sort of maybe a team rules violation. It was kind of a mini suspension. I'm not sure. That's just me speculating here. All right, what do you have here on Lamar Jackson? The severity of the injury is unknown. He did not finish the game. Jadon Blue at this point, I don't want to call a person a joke, but his situation seems to be a joke. Xavier Worthy showed out in his first game back, and Travis Hunter might be a bit in the doghouse.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, that's pretty concerning for a mobile quarterback with a hamstring injury. I mean, we're looking at possibly like 3 weeks of recovery, limited practices. Maybe he'll start, maybe he won't. Game time decision kind of stuff. Um, who's his backup? Cooper Rush? Is that
Cooper
who
Rush. Yep.
replaced? Yeah. Um, they were already trailing badly, so what could Cooper Rush really do? Henry, he didn't manage much. Justice Hill had a little bit bigger yardage game going there. So it was with Jackson out, it's a severely limited offense, I believe, for the Ravens going forward. If he's out any extended time,
Right.
yeah, you're the only one that's got Jadon Blue on any list. I'm gonna just let you talk about that.
Okay.
Xavier Worthy, Xavier Worthy looked good. Hollywood Brown and him, they were okay. Tyquan Thornton though. Is the one that's going to emerge with a little bit more going on here. So when Rashee Rice comes back to reclaim that wide receiver 1 spot, we're going to do a little shuffling of the deck here. But I think this will be good for the Chiefs. They'll always have a fresh playmaker that's going to be available going forward in the late in the season.
Do you have any thoughts on Travis Hunter not getting on
Travis
the
Hunter,
offense?
yeah. His snap rate's been declining each week, so that's okay. Brian Thomas is struggling, so it's really coming up to Travis Hunter to kind of make a little bit bigger impact. I don't know anything about what's going on with the off-field stuff, so I don't have any comments on that.
All right, moving along here, we had Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver for the Browns, also was unable to finish the game today against the Lions as he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Darnell Mooney also left with a hamstring injury himself, and Calvin Austin left the early game overseas with a shoulder injury. The Steelers are on bye next week, so the severity probably won't be known to us for several days, if not even 5 to 8 days. So, what do you have on these receivers who all got banged up today?
With Cedric Tillman in the Cleveland offense there, Jerry Jeudy, he remains the primary target here. He's getting like 16% of the target share, but Harold Fannin Jr. Is ascending. So keep an eye on him going forward there. He might replace Tillman as a pass catcher going forward here. Darnell Mooney, what he was ruled out. Falcon, They have a bye week that's coming up next, so you get some extra recovery time there. This offense looked good, though. They had their triple threat today. They had Kyle Pitts join Robinson and join London and doing some damage, so that was good to see. A couple other names there, Casey Washington, Ray McLeod. They have maybe a little bit of upside coming up, but I don't know, to be for deeper leagues. And then Calvin Austin. We got Roman Wilson, Ben Schroenick, and Scotty Miller candidates for increased snaps, but that's a pretty thin wide receiver room there. So hopefully everything's going to be okay with that shoulder, not too serious.
Yeah, even more targets going the way to DK Metcalf. He was already the main guy,
Yeah.
and now the other guy who was kind of taking the lid off the top of the defense on his long routes there might be injured, meaning this might be DK getting all the work over the middle and over the top.
Exactly. But with a name like Scotty Miller catching the ball, I feel like I've heard this name before. He seems like a little speedy, shifty kind of guy.
He played for the Tampa Bay Bucks a while ago with Tom Brady. He's like that fourth receiver who caught a couple random touchdowns every once in a while.
Yeah, he'd be like the backup point guard coming in. He's like, he's so super fast, but he can't play a full game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. All right, it is now time to get into this week's Studs and Duds.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Wingman Fantasy Football, Studs and Duds.
All right, Bernie, why don't you start us off with some of our studs for week number 4?
All right, studs starting off. We got 4 quarterbacks. Oh, my man, Mr. Graybeard himself, Matthew Stafford, 27.4 points, 375 passing yards. That's a lot. 4 rushing yards. That's a lot for that guy. And 3 passing touchdowns. Next up, we got Patrick Mahomes back on the big board, 27.3 fantasy points for Patrick, 270 passing yards. Oh, similar, 4 rushing yards and 4 passing touchdowns for Patrick this game. And then Josh Allen, he's going to be here more likely than not. 26.86 for Josh Allen, 209 passing yards, 45 rushing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. And who's this? Carson Wentz? What year is this? 25.20 for Carson, 350 passing yards, 12 rushing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 1 2-point conversion. I feel ice pack coming onto that shoulder, Carson.
Exactly. All right, moving along here, we have Christian McCaffrey, our first positional player to make the stud list this week at 23.1 points, as he is the entire offense for the San Francisco 49ers at 151 total yards on 6 receptions. A light day in the receiving game for him this week, actually, but he got in the end zone himself this time. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, had 22.5 points with only 70 receiving yards, but he had 7 catches and he got in the end zone twice. We mentioned him earlier. His target share is only going to go up. DK Metcalf at 21.1 points, at 126 yards on 5 catches and 1 touchdown. Most of this came on an 80-yard touchdown scamper in this game. And Drake London put it together today. Finally, a nice day for the London man at 110 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and he got in the end zone for 1 touchdown.
Very nice, very nice. And then another Buffalo Bill coming up, James Cook, Jimbo, 21 fantasy points, 135 total yards, 3 receptions, and 1 touchdown. Quentin Johnson's up next here, 19.8 fantasy points, 98 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And then Quinshawn Judkins, well, that's weird. QJ, 19.5 fantasy points, 115 total yards on 4 receptions, and 1 touchdown. I'm sorry, let me say that again. 115 total yards, 4 receptions, and 1 touchdown for Quinshawn Judkins. And then Travis Etienne, say it, Mike, muy bien?
Yeah, Senor muy bien.
19 fantasy points, 125 total yards, 1 reception, and 1 touchdown for Travis.
And moving along here, we have It's a Mecca.
It's electric. Boogie, boogie, boogie.
A Mecca.
That's so disrespectful. It's ridiculous.
It just sounds like that. I know.
Yeah, it's good.
It was funny, actually. My son actually did that on his own today when he had a big catch. He's like, "Abuka, buka, buka," not irregardless of me. I was like, "Hey, I do the same thing." He's like, "That's what everyone does." I'm like, "Okay, so it's not just me." Okay, sorry about that. Going on, Emeka Buka, we are big fans of you, by the way. Don't just it's just a sound association thing. Anyway, at 18.1 points, had 101 receiving yards. Sorry, 4 receptions and 1 touchdown. Dallas Goedert loves to catch shovel passes, and he's really good at it. Has 17.7 points. He only had 37 receiving yards, but he had 4 catches, and 2 of those receptions got him into the end zone. Justin Jefferson, for the first time, cracked 100 yards in a long time, his longest drought in that regard. He had, 17.6 points on 126 receiving yards on 10 receptions. And Deebo Samuel.
Who? Debo.
had 17.1 points on 79 total yards, 6 receptions, and he always gets his touchdown in the fourth quarter to save his day.
Oh, and next up, this is interesting. This is fun. This is exciting. This is a Houston defense that beat out all the kickers. 15.25 for Houston defense, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fourth down stop, only allowed 175 total yards and 0 points. Go Houston. Jason Myers is up next. First kicker on the list, I believe. 14.7 fantasy points, 3 field goals, 2-point afters, and 1 50-plus yarder. Jake Bates said, hey, not so fast there, homie. 14.6 fantasy points, 2 field goals, 4-point afters, and 1 field goal, 1 50-plus field goal. And Harrison Butker, he had a miss today, but he still made the stud list. 13.2 fantasy points, 3 field goals, and 4-point afters.
I feel like he's missed a kick in every game, if not 3 of the 4 games, whether it be an extra point and or a field goal. But he's still getting plenty of opportunities, and they're not gonna bench him. But he's not been quite as accurate. He's more in that 80% range instead of that 95% range.
Yeah, definitely.
Nonetheless, here we've got a couple defenses who showed up. Hey, first of all, you're talking about the Houston defense. Yeah, it's all fine and good unless they're on the other side of your ledger here. I was playing against that team. I was like, just come on and score already. The guy missed 2 field goals today. Sly did. Anyway, moving along here. Other defenses. Philadelphia defense for the second straight week on this list at 12.5 points with 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. For the second straight week, they have at least 1 block kick where it becomes a touchdown, and they had 2 fourth down stops. And the Detroit defense had 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 kick return for a touchdown to get them 12 points. All right, guys, you have to buckle in here. I almost don't want to do this, but we have a long list of duds, but you got to know it. You got to hear it so you can be prepared and make your decisions going forward. Bernie, why don't you start us off with our duds? For week 4.
All right. And just like the stud list, we got 4 quarterbacks starting the dud list. Trevor Lawrence, 11.66 fantasy points. Bryce Young, 10.3 fantasy points. Joe Flacco, 7.36 fantasy points. And at least you made a list. Cam Ward, 6.52 fantasy points.
I'm going to just stop real quick right here. So when I make this list here, that way I pass along to Bernie, I just replace the names from the last week, and it's one table. These 4 quarterbacks have been on this list every single game except maybe one of them has been off of it one time. These same players are on the same. These guys are awful. You cannot play them. Joe Flacco had 6 points last week, 7 points this week. Cam Ward's getting under 10 points every week. This is pathetic. All right, moving on to some other positional players here. TJ Hawkinson, I'm not sure if you consider him a startable player, but he hit the threshold. It was close. 5.9 points for TJ Hawkinson. Chris Rodriguez started off the game with a 45-yard run, and that's all he did for the rest of the day. He, too, had 5.9 points. DJ Moore, sorry, Bernie, only had 5.8 points. He's no Rome Odunze, I'll tell you that. And Travis Hunter, we mentioned, was didn't play on offense in the first half, also only had 5.7 points.
Oh, DJ. All right, next up we have Mr. Sam Laporta. Is he a tight end? He is. He did. No surprise here then. 5.4 points. Jawan Jennings, 5.4 points. Come back too soon, Mr. Jennings? I don't know. Alec Ayomanor, 5.4 points. And Kareem Hunt, 5.2 points.
All right, we're going on to Zach Ertz. A lot of people like to stream this guy, but he didn't come through today. I don't think Mariota is very good for the passing game. So he had 5.1 points, did Ertz. Jacoby Myers had 5 points even. Jamison Williams has actually been on this list 2 to 3 times in the first 4 weeks here. He had only 5 points. And Cooper Kupp is becoming a mainstay on this list as well at 4.6 points.
Yeah, this list is pretty long. I guess that's why my score was so low. Ramondre Stevenson, 4.6 points. Josh down, 4.4 points. The second Jawan on this list, different spelling though. Jawan Johnson, 4.3 points, and Chris Godwin, 4.1.
We're going to cut Godwin some slack. It was his first game back after nearly a year-long absence. He did have some tough drops today, but he was battling. Calvin Ridley, another player who's been on this list multiple times, at least 2 weeks in a row, and I think 3 out of 4 as well. 4 points. Man, I hate Philadelphia. Oh my gosh, Philadelphia. I hate you guys so much. Devontae Smith at 3.9 points. Christian Kirk at 3.5 points. Trey Tucker, what is going on here? He went from 36 points last week to the dud list this week. It wasn't his fault, I'll tell you that. 3.2 points for Trey Tucker.
Yeah, and this one's sad. He didn't deserve to be on the list, but we got to put him on there because he did start the game. Malik Neighbors, 3.0 points. And his buddy that's probably going to be not on the dud list next week, Wandale Robinson, 2.9 points. And Tootin, 2.2 points for Tootin. Kayshawn Booty, 2.3 points. And Adam Thielen, looking good in the purple, though, Adam, I have to say, 2.1 points.
All right, we still have them buckling, guys. All right, Darnell Mooney, we mentioned he left the game early at 2 points even. Hunter Renfrow, he's had a couple good weeks back-to-back, made him just enough interesting, a sneaky flex play, but he let you down as he'd only had 2 points. AJ Mither, I'm Cubit raging right now on AJ Brown, man. I cannot take it. 1 point. I should have traded high last week. I should have traded high. 1.7 points for AJ Brown. And Lad McConkey, another second-round pick drafted wide receiver, also only had 1.6 points.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough to watch those receivers not do anything. Next up, though, David Montgomery. I'm not mad at him because David Montgomery only got 1.2 points, and they were at the goal line, and they were going to give it to him, but it was a fake, and then St. Brown got the touchdown, so I'm happy. Cedric Tillman, 1.1 points. Ryan Fitzgerald, 1 point. I don't even know who that guy plays.
That's the kicker for Carolina, who had the biggest score last week for all kickers. So that's the ones I put him on there because he went from a big score to the worst score.
Gotcha. Well, him and his defense both got 1 point. Carolina defense.
Yeah. Baltimore defense has been on this list more often than I care to admit, at 1 point even. And DeAndre Hopkins is the only positional player to get 0 points. I'm not sure if he made it into a lineup, but DeAndre Hopkins got the goose. And the San Francisco defense only had 1 point last week, and this week they were even worse. San Francisco's defense against Jacksonville got 0 points. All right, now, oh my gosh, thanks God we were done with that dud list. It was long, it was painful. Let's get into some guys who really had some monster days today. Let's get into this week's Mecha Studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, Bernie's start of the week. Not only, I mean, we know we're going to play him a little bit, but he was losing a little bit of favor. Ashton Genty, oh my. He was against me in the ledger in my fantasy matchup, but he was part of my Wingman Jam team, so I'm kind of like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. 34.5 points, the highest scoring player this week at 155 total yards, 2 receptions, and both of those catches were for touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns for the day. I miswrote that down. 2 receptions and 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua. I know there's different types of receivers. I honestly think Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the league. Just for the total.
I'm not going to argue with you. I saw some of those catches and some of his moves.
He just goes up in crowds every time, gets blasted, and holds on to it. He's like a bowling ball with the softest hands. It's the craziest combination here.
Yeah.
We got Puka Nacua at 29.5 points, 170 yards on 13 catches. This guy is a double-digit reception every week. He got in the end zone this time as well. Kenneth Gainwell took advantage of the inactive game from Jaylen Warren. 28.4 points, 134 total yards, 6 receptions, and he got in the end zone twice. And if you need justice, you call Justice Hill at 26.2 points. I don't see Derrick Henry on this list, man. I see Justice Hill at 117 total yards, 5 receptions, and he got in the end zone twice.
Yeah, and this guy doesn't need to get into the end zone that much. Just one time for Mr. Bijan Robinson, 26.1 points.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
Because he had 181 total yards and only 4 receptions. So that is a huge total yardage to get onto this Mega Stud list. And then Woody Marks, 25.9 points. If you have Woody Marks, you probably had him on your bench. I don't see you have started him, but man, that's great for Woody Marks. 119 total yards, 4 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay doing Tampa Bay things, 25 points, 165 total yards, 5 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And Omarion Hampton, 25 fantasy points, 165 total yards, and 5 receptions, and 1 touchdown. The exact same stat line as Bucky Irving.
Well, yeah, they did it. They did it in different ways, mixing up their receiving and rushing, but they ended up with the same amount of yards and catches today. Yes, that was interesting. All right, getting on to some big-time kickers who came through today in the Mecha Stud list. Cairo Santos at 20.2 points. He had 4 field goals, 1 extra point. 2 of his kicks were over 50 yards in length. Matt Gay at 18.8 points. 4 field goals, 1 extra point, and 1 field goal over 50 yards. And Chase McLaughlin, he had a day for himself in the history books, at least for himself and the Tampa Bay Bucks at 18.5 points. He turned the game around momentum-wise as he had 3 field goals, 2 extra points, 2 field goals over 50 yards, including a 65-yard field goal to end the first half. Chase McLaughlin has been on a mecha stud back-to-back weeks.
Amazing.
All right, guys, it is now time to settle into this week's 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's
Link?
going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Wingman Fantasy Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, before we get into the games, what is the theme for week 4? As far as I could see it, some undefeated teams fell, rookies score big, and blocked kicks win the game again. This is ridiculous. Defenses are showing out today, including kick returns with these these new kickoff rules are really making the kickoffs a lot more exciting, getting a lot more points for our defenses. All right, Bernie, why don't you start us off with the games we're going to go through this week?
Yeah, first let's just say, undefeated teams fell. Did you say that? So I guess my fantasy team is just following the NFL trend at the moment.
There you go.
So I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I haven't lost yet, but it looks like I'm going to. All right, moving on. Enough about me. Let's go back to the Thursday game here. Let's go back to the Seahawks 23, the Cardinals 20 in Thursday Night Football. This was a desert storm, man. The Seahawks weathered the Cardinals' rally in a golden finish here. Seattle dominated early, building a 14-3 halftime lead behind efficient passing and strong defense. The Seahawks extended to 20-6 in the fourth quarter before Arizona's offense finally awakened. Murray led 2 consecutive touchdown drives in the final 6 minutes to tie the game 20-20. A short kickoff by Arizona gave Seattle excellent field position with 28 seconds left, allowing them to quickly move into field goal range for the game-winning 52-yard kick.
So we reacted to this game a little bit in real time as we recorded our Week 4 preview as the game was coming in the second half there. So we had Kenneth Walker was gashing early, but Charbonnet got the touchdowns. We had so like you mentioned, the big lead was gained there by Seattle. Trey Benson, like I said, I don't think he's great. I think he's gonna get a lot of work. So in this day and age in fantasy football, he's gonna be valuable. But whatever, he is what he is. He's gonna be on the field, but not enough to move the ball by himself. But Marvin Harrison was having a tough go again in that first half. It seemed like the weight of the world, whether real or not, you could tell he felt it himself. Finally, though, as the game went along, the Cardinals scored, like you said, late, a couple scores late, including Marvin Harrison making a contested catch in the end zone. And we mentioned it when it happened in real time, but like I mentioned how T.O., being emotional after a catch, he wasn't outwardly emotional, but you could tell he was just like exhaling or something. He was just, his head was in his hands, one knee on the ground, just not celebrating, just taking in that catch. It felt like he was going to break if he didn't make that catch like that. I don't know. I don't think he's fixed, but I think he would have been completely damaged forever if he didn't make that catch. And he also made another good catch on the drive that got him in that second touchdown where Amari DeMarcado caught the screen pass. So in terms of the feel goods, or at least the relief of feel goods for Marvin Harrison, we rag on these guys a little bit in terms of their production here, but we don't want these guys getting broken. We don't want to see that, obviously. Kyler Murray was doing nothing until the last 6 minutes, but for the second straight week, or maybe second straight week, they tie the game or take the lead with a minute and a half to go, and they find a way to lose it. As you mentioned, the short kick, it was you have that landing zone you have to hit now, and Ryland didn't get it into the landing zone, so the other team started with the ball at the 40-yard line. It was either tied or they were down by less than that, so a field goal was going to win it, and they were already in field goal range essentially from the kickoff, just needed to get 15 yards or so, and Myers made a long kick at the buzzer to win the game.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up there. So next week, Seattle 3-1. They travel to Tampa Bay, who's as of me writing it down, 3-0, but we know something's different there. And Arizona hosts Tennessee next week. So, all right,
pick up your Arizona defense, people. Pick them up.
Moving on, we have a week 4 super early game because they were in Dublin. The Vikings 21. Steelers 24. Irish eyes aren't smiling. Steelers hold off Vikings late rally in historic Dublin debut. Pittsburgh jumped out to a commanding 24-6 lead through 3 quarters behind Kenneth Gainwell's 2 rushing touchdowns and an 80-yard Rodgers to Metcalf strike. The Vikings' depleted offensive line struggled as Carson Wentz was sacked 6 times and threw 2 interceptions. Minnesota rallied, though, with 15 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, closing to 24-21 with just over 2 minutes left. But Pittsburgh's defense held firm on the final drive to secure the win in Ireland's first ever NFL regular season game. Now, I know you didn't watch too much of this game, so let me just tell you one critical game moment that I noticed here. TJ Watt, he tipped Carson Wentz's pass in the third quarter for an interception, returned to the Vikings 35-yard line. 5 plays later, Kenneth Gainwell punched it in for a 4-yard touchdown to extend Pittsburgh's lead to 21-6. That was appearing to put the game out of reach before Minnesota's furious fourth quarter comeback. But just like the game we just talked about, it's just too little, too late at that moment in time here. So, do you got any comments on this one? I can go through a couple of player highlights if you need.
Yeah, I did pick up the game as it went to the second half. I did my Sunday morning quickie, and I kind of slept in past the start of that game, and was surprised to see Jaylen Warren wasn't active. As all the reports, I was combing that through, and they all said he was going to play, and I'm like, wait, what? So I apologize out there if I wasn't able to give you guys a little tip there. But of course, go to wingmanfantasyfootball.com to get that inactive list there to double check all the time. No matter what these reporters say, you got to double check. There always is a chance for some wiggle room there at the end. But going into the second half there, or even coming out of the first half, Minnesota's offense, until they started coming back, looked horrible. They weren't doing anything. Or Wentz, like I said, there were sacks all the time. They were getting a lot of going backwards a lot, having hard third and longs and not being able to move the ball very well. Jordan Addison made his first appearance this year, and he actually finished off with a pretty decent day. I think he had close to 100 yards, give or take. I know he had double-digit fantasy points. So that's pretty good for him there. Naylor got in the end zone when they started their comeback. I noticed that there. And then one moment that I noticed, I think the score might have been the 24-21. It was a 3-point game, and the Steelers had the ball inside the 5-ish area, inside the 10, and it was like 4th and 2 or something. I'm not sure. 4th and goal, 4th and 2, something like that. And on the 3rd and short, they didn't get it. And Rodgers was, I mean, I get it. He's the leader of the offense, but in a very, I'm just going to say a very bitchy way, just like, you stay off. I'm going again. Stay off. Keep the kicking team off. And and Tomlin was kind of hemming and hawing, and they had to call a timeout. The kicking team came on, the kicking team came off, called a timeout. The kicking team went back on, they came back off. And the thing what I kind of didn't like about it, he's gonna get redemption here. I'm not gonna trash him all the way, but what I didn't like about it in a way is he was waving off the way Rodgers does. The offensive linemen were doing the same thing, like stay off Tomlin, like he's almost like rallying the team to go against the coach. I'm not saying, in all fairness, the decision wasn't necessarily the wrong decision to go for it there, to get up by being up 6 points is still a score. I could argue either way, but I definitely wouldn't say it's the wrong choice to go for it. But the emphatic, disrespectful nature of demanding it kind of irked me a bit. And they did not get it. They got stuffed, so it was still a 3-point game with plenty of time for the Minnesota Vikings to try and tie this up or take the lead. They ended up getting a stop, did Pittsburgh, and this is where I'm going to give Rodgers redemption here. It was another play. I don't know exactly what it was about on that drive where they're trying to kill time or trying to score another field goal or touchdown to get in the same situation they were just in because nothing changed except for time. He threw a short screen pass on, like I say, a 3rd and 8. I'm kind of guessing a little bit. And the running back was kind of not going to get it. He was kind of dancing around tacklers in the backfield or in the short part of the field here. And Rodgers was still next to him because the running back was just kind of shifting back and forth. And instead of watching, which I've seen him do before, he ran up and laid a block on the incoming tackler that sprung that running back to get the first down on a dead screen pass. Got the 8 yards or so to get a big first down to kill more time. I thought they were going to score in that drive, but he ran from 5 yards behind the play, ran up and cracked as much as he can crack, or put his shoulder into him. He went into him. So, maybe that's why those guys will follow him when they waves his hand down, because at that instance, I was very impressed. He actually put his body on the line, and he gave the team a chance to hold on to win. If they didn't get that first down there, Minnesota was going to get the ball back again with a chance to tie or take the lead. So as much as we trash Rodgers, I have to say that was an impressive block he threw. That really was an important part of that game.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree. It was interesting to watch. So, good game though all around. Next week, Minnesota travels to London to face Cleveland at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and then Pittsburgh gets a bye week to rest and prepare for their Week 6 matchup. So, anything else you got on that one?
No, it ended up being a good game by
Yeah.
the end, but Pittsburgh dominated most of that game.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. We have the Commanders 27, the Falcons 34. Now, this was a capital punishment. The Falcons rebound with offensive explosion against shorthanded Commanders. Atlanta bounced back from their 30-0 shutout loss with Michael Penix Jr. throwing for a career high 313 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Bijan Robinson amassed 181 yards from scrimmage. The Falcons built a 31-16 lead behind Drake London's first touchdown of the season and Robinson's 14-yard touchdown run. Marcus Mariota, he led Washington's comeback attempt with a beautiful 24-yard fourth down touchdown to Deebo Samuel. But the Falcons answered with a crucial 14-play, 69-yard drive that ended with Parker Romo's 26-yard field goal to seal the victory. And then a critical game moment that I noticed in this one was Michael Penix Jr. hit Bijan for a 69-yard catch and run on the first drive of the second half, and that setting up a 7-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts. That's right. Kyle Pitts was on the stat board here. That extended Atlanta's lead to 17-10 and kind of shifted the momentum permanently into the Falcons' favor.
So I didn't get to watch a lot of this game just by the way the TVs broke down here today. I was curious, maybe if you watch this more intently, I'm hoping so, just for my answers here. I was curious, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was questionable all week, and I even told you, because I'm very thin at running back, so I was curious. I was going to throw Chris Rodriguez in there if Merritt didn't play. He did play. He was active, so that made that decision. It was if this, then that. So I didn't play him, but he started out with a big run early. It seemed like he was getting most of the carries, but the carries weren't increasing on anybody's any ledger here for the running backs, as Mariota was like the leading rusher for a little while, and Deebo Samuel got some rushes. So did you happen to notice what the running game was doing for the Commanders this week? Because I didn't, except for the 35-yard, 38-yard initial run by Rodriguez, they weren't doing too much on the ground at all.
No, yeah, Atlanta's defense was pretty stout. They were looking. It looked like a completely different team that played last week. They were pretty much firing on all cylinders. So having Mariota be mobile really helped them open up. That's why you saw a little bit more rushing from him and Deebo. But it wasn't a bad attempt by Washington. It was just a really good defensive game for Atlanta when it came to the rushing attack.
So what's up with Atlanta's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde here? What the heck's going on here? You got shut up by one of the worst defenses ever, and then you dominate another, I would say, a solid defense at the least.
Exactly. So I think what happened here was they just got beat last week. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody just was off for some reason. I don't know why, but they just got thoroughly beat. But I think that this game shows the character of these players. They're not going to go out saying, okay, we got beat and we're just going to come back and, put up a good matchup against Washington. Hopefully we win. They dominated, man. I mean, Bijan looked like amazing. He looked elite in this game. Drake London looked good. Kyle Pitts looked good. I mean, they were running their routes. They were doing everything that they needed to do in this game. So, and Washington played good. Washington didn't play bad. I don't think it's a Jekyll and Hyde thing. I think that 0 was a one-off. Hopefully, it's a one-off for Atlanta.
So I did notice.
So play their starters confidently. I wouldn't.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't not start them confidently against good defenses.
I did notice Tyler Algier had a really nice 25-ish yard run. The run itself was good, but the way he barreled through the last couple tackles to get in there was a pretty impressive there. Sorry, I just can't help myself because I should have scouted this better. More about that running game for the Commanders. McNichols didn't get a lot of snaps as far as I read. And did you see who, regardless of their production? Who do you think was on the field more between Rodriguez and Krosky-Merritt? Could you tell?
I couldn't tell. No. I would probably say Rodriguez because I would say that just because I heard his name being said more
Okay.
than the other guy, than Krusky Merritt. So
I'm wondering if that's an injury thing or a talent thing, because even last week before he got hurt, Rodriguez was the starter. It's kind of just kind of weird how he went from not playing to jumping.
It might also have been a game script situational thing. Like he was in when Atlanta was probably expecting a pass, and then they had to run there. So, but like I said, they played good. They went up against a team that was pinned to a corner and got embarrassed last week.
Yeah.
A good team
All right.
that got embarrassed last week. So
what's our next game on the list here?
Well, next week, though, Washington travels to Los Angeles to face the Chargers, and Atlanta enters their bye week next week, hosting Buffalo in week 6. So they'll get rested.
Very good.
All right, next game up, we got the Saints 19, the Bills 31. Buffalo's wild ride here. Bills survive Saints' scare to stay perfect at 4-0. Buffalo jumped out to a 14-7 first quarter lead behind James Cook's touchdowns, but the offense stalled with just 13 yards over 4 possessions in the second quarter. The Saints threatened to tie before halftime, but safety Cole Bishop made a spectacular one-handed interception on a Philly special attempt in the end zone. Josh Allen took control in the second half, though, with a crucial 27-yard scramble and a 28-yard touchdown pass to Dalton Kincaid. That helped Buffalo pull away for the 31-19 victory to start 4-0 for the first time since 2020. So long ago.
So this one too was one that didn't quite make the cut here, thinking this was going to be a easier win for Buffalo here. So I was kind of watching as they were showing highlights every once in a while, or as games went away. Yeah, it seemed like Buffalo was dominating early. Shakir got an early touchdown breaking down the sideline, and then I saw a couple of those runs. It might be the run you're talking about, where the camera angle was great. It was Josh Allen was running right down the middle, but the camera angle was coming out of the end zone, so it was staring right at him. And he did, for a big guy, I mean, he did a shimmy, shake on 3 guys, but he went straight the whole time. Like he shook left, shook right, shook left. We all know he's a good runner, but we assume a lot of it's because of his stature. But man, he put some moves. There were some quick, stutter steps and side to side moves there. He shook some guys. Even when I saw that, I was like, ooh, I didn't think you had that, my big man. It was a very nifty running. Felt like his running is what kind of stabled them as the other team was starting to come back a little bit to kind of keep those first downs and keep the clock possession here. And James Cook, he's been a stud, man. I need to go back with our holdout little list here, and maybe it's depending on when you resign, because he held out. He didn't sign right away, but he also didn't hold out to the last week. He was kind of in the middle, and he was practicing except for 2 days, where he's like, I'm gonna hold out, and then they signed him 2 days later. So I want to kind of do a little deper dive, especially as we get into next season there, if I can remember, to see if there's a line of demarcation with some of these guys, or it just depends on the player. But if you want to talk about holdouts, again, I think maybe because he didn't hold out long enough, he's been better than last year, and last year was his best year he's ever had. Yeah,
and I think when you do your research, there's the holdout, and then there's the hold in. The guys that are in the facility doing all the things are just not on the field. But just a quick note for James Cook here: 3rd consecutive 100-yard rushing game, becoming the first Bill back since Thurman Thomas to accomplish that feat. And he has extended his franchise record touchdown streak to 8 games.
That's crazy, because last year he barely got 1,000 yards. All of his points were on touchdowns, and now he's putting it all together. Kudos to him, man. Way to go. He's getting paid and right in his prime. Way to go.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. We got the Buffalo. They host New England next week on Sunday Night Football. And New Orleans, they return home to face the Giants. All right. Next up, we've got. Oh, this is a good one. The Browns 10, the Lions 34. Motor City mismatch. Lions roll over the Browns behind 3 turnovers and Raymond's dazzling return. Cleveland jumped out to a 7-0 lead on an 88-yard opening touchdown drive, but Detroit responded with 20 unanswered points, fueled by 3 Joe Flacco turnovers. After Khalif Raymond's electrifying 65-yard punt return touchdown in the fourth quarter, Jared Goff connected with Amon-Ra St. Brown for his second scoring pass to seal the dominant victory here. The Lions defense forced 3 turnovers and converted them into 17 points, limiting Cleveland to just 249 total yards as Detroit improved to 3-1.
I will say here, I was going to say, I just lost myself. We'll start with Montgomery here. He after having one of his best games last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? He's been good all year, but the last 2 weeks especially, he got stuffed in terms of what they were doing there. The Browns defense couldn't keep Jahmyr Gibbs out of the end zone, but they really did stifle the running game in terms of yards. Even Jared Goff didn't have a lot of yards. That might have been due to the short fields because of those turnovers and long punt returns. And there's been a ton of punt and kick returns for touchdowns this year. And I know it's exciting, but I don't like it because it takes away points from our offensive guys. I'm like, oh, now they're up by 7 points. They're not going to give it they're not going to throw the ball to the receiver we're looking for or what have you. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really changes the game script with some of these kicks. I mean, it's exciting and all, but most of the time you don't have these players or these defenses, and it really changes what you're expecting to happen throughout the game here. And this is what happened today. It helps the NFL team get the win. Of course, that's what we're splitting, NFL versus fantasy here, but it really does change the script. As Amon-Ra St. Brown was the only line to get up there, and that's because he scored twice. There weren't a lot of yards on that field, maybe because the field was cut in half today.
Yeah, for sure. One of the critical game moments here was the DJ Reed. He made that spectacular diving interception after Jerry Jeudy fell down on a second quarter pass attempt, returning it 34 yards to Cleveland's 5-yard line. And then 2 plays later, Jared Goff hits Amon-Ra for a 2-yard touchdown. And that extended their lead to 17-7. And they didn't really look back from there. But let's not make it all doom and gloom for Cleveland, though. Cleveland's one lone bright spot here was Quinshon Judkins. He managed 82 rushing yards and a touchdown. So, he's on the right track to do something good. And Flacco started strong. He just imploded with the turnovers.
So yeah, Quinshon Judkins here. He's an every week starter, man. He's getting these 18-point games, but he's played against the 2 best defenses, and he's still doing. You're like, all right, well, they're playing the Packers and they're playing the Lions. What is he going to do when he plays a weaker opponent here? My gosh, this guy's already getting a strong start to his rookie season here. I haven't heard anything about potential suspensions since that meeting they had before he made his first start or first appearance. So I don't know. I'm assuming he's playing the rest of the year. Again, I don't put that on in stone or anything, but until we hear more, he's going to be an every week starter. You got to put him in your lineup.
Yeah. All right. Next week, Detroit play all your starters. They travel to Cincinnati to face the Bengals, and then Cleveland heads to London to play Minnesota. All right. Next game up we have here is the Panthers 13, the Patriots 42. Patriot games here. New England explodes for 42 unanswered points in dominant home victory. Carolina jumped out to 16-0 lead on Bryce Young's opening touchdown drive, but Marcus Jones sparked New England's eruption with an 87-yard punt return for a touchdown. The Patriots scored 42 unanswered points behind Drake May's near-perfect performance, including a 5-yard rushing touchdown and a second Jones punt return for 61 yards that set up Antonio Gibson's goal line score for a 28-6 halftime lead. New England's 42 points marked their highest total since a 50-10 win over Jacksonville in 2021, as they dominated all 3 phases to improve to 2-2.
Yeah, I was watching this game quite a bit because I have the Drake May manager here, and that opening kickoff or punt return, whatever, I'm like, oh no, God darn it. That's what I was talking about, because I thought they're going to run. They didn't. They tried to run here. They really did split the backfield 3 ways in the worst way possible in terms of workload between Travion Henderson. I thought Henderson was going to be a sneaky start this week, and he came through as he got the first touchdown of the 3 running backs there, and he had a couple catches that got him a couple chunk plays, but he really didn't have that much. I think he only had like 4 or 5 positive plays. Just one of them was a touchdown. They went to, you mentioned it there, they went to Antonio Gibson as the goal line runner on that. But it seemed like there was no rhyme or reason to rolls. It's just like, it's your turn this time. They did go to Ramondre Stevenson a couple times in short yardage as well, and you're just holding your breath for a fumble. He didn't run very well, but he didn't turn the ball over, so it's kind of like you'll take what you can get. He was the worst running back in terms of production, but I thought he was on the field. I thought he was on the field the most, to be honest with you. Ramondre Stevenson is not in the best situations. Like he wasn't there on those easy touchdown type of plays. And then I just started asking I know it's Carolina, but I'm watching these games here. We were talking about last time whether or not to put May in for Herbert. That's going to be a question for me every week. And you're like, how are you going to go against the vaunted Carolina defense who just shut out Atlanta? Half is a joke, I understand. But seriously, watching these games, and again, discount what you will from Carolina's defense, who we just saw shut out Atlanta. May is good, man. He is really he spreads the ball around. He hits the open guy. He scrambles just enough I don't know if you recall that first week, I said he was just a little late and like pulling the trigger. Like he would slide out of the pocket and he would like take one extra step before cocking his arm back. And then he does arm hit. That timing is all he need to do is get that 1/2 step faster. That's all it's going to take. And he's not getting sacked too much. He's rolling out. He's not running like a ball hog. He's running every once in a while just to keep drives alive. But he's really looking to pass the ball, and he's hitting guys like in stride, hitting guys across the middle, making right decisions. I've been really impressed. I didn't watch him in college. I don't know how good he was supposed to be, but in this offense, maybe it's the McDaniels offensive system here. But he's looking really good. I'm very impressed. It's going to be hard to sit him anytime, except that they're playing Buffalo next week, which is again going to make this a tough choice.
Yeah, he definitely looked good, but I would say that now we can establish that last week's Carolina Atlanta game was a fluke, and I wouldn't take any stock into what actually happened in that game moving forward. I would put Carolina back where we thought they would be, and I'd put Atlanta where they were headed. So, and this just proves it because New England isn't a great team, and I know you just mentioned their coach there. McDaniel.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, I think.
Yeah, and McDaniels. And I don't like him. I don't want to give him credit. But Drake May is doing a good job. I rather give Vrabel credit than anything else to why that team is succeeding the way they are.
And then the other. I'll stay for a couple more minutes here. I'm not sure how many turnovers Bryce Young had, but it seemed like, was this one of the games? There were like 4 games where like every interception was a diving, great interception to catch. You mentioned the long kick punt returns by Marcus Jones. I was so glad he tripped. He would have scored that second one. He broke by everybody, and like the punter barely touched his knee, and he fell. I'm like, thank God, because I needed some offensive touchdowns at that point. But we always talk about Carolina like. Stat-wise and matchup-wise, they're the worst matchup for opposing quarterbacks and the best matchup for running backs. I don't know what the total between the 3 running backs would add up to. There was 2 touchdowns there and probably 85 yards or so. But May showed even in that matchup with the running backs getting the work, he outperformed most quarterbacks in that, whether it's because they're a good defense, whether it's become a game script or whatever. And this was not a game script for a passing quarterback because they got those early touchdowns on special teams. I think May. I don't know. I'm impressed with May. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, he had a near perfect performance. He did a really, really good job. It was a balanced attack. Ramondre didn't really do too much worth mentioning, but Hunter Henry was getting.
Oh yeah,
there.
Hunter Henry. Yep.
Yeah. So it's all good. Travion Henderson was getting on the board too. So we're good, man. I think. Stephon Diggs has his season high, 101 receiving yards on 6 receptions. So it's all coming together there. So as long as that coach can keep it together and Drake May can not make too many mistakes, because he's going to make mistakes. Everybody does.
Sure.
Just not make too many critical mistakes. They're going to be just fine. They've shown that they can play.
So I don't want to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought. I apologize.
No. Go ahead. You're good.
I'll just say I don't want to spend too much time on it because we've already spent a lot of time on this game, but there was nothing redeeming that I saw out of Carolina on the offensive side of the ball today. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Man, Chuba didn't do anything. Bryce didn't really do anything fun, and I don't even have notes for any of the receivers. So,
all right, let's move along.
All right. Yep. Next week, though, Carolina returns home to host Miami, and New England hits the road to face Buffalo. All right. Next up, we have the Chargers 18, the Giants 21. Dartboard, that's what I got for my headline here. Rookie quarterback leads Giants to stunning upset over previously unbeaten Chargers. Jackson Dart got his NFL career off to a winning start with a 15-yard rushing touchdown on the opening drive, leading the Giants to a 13-10 halftime lead despite suffering a hamstring injury late in the second quarter. After Drew Phillips intercepted Justin Herbert and returned it inside the 5-yard line, Dart threw a shovel pass to Theo Johnson for his first career touchdown pass. Awesome. And Cam Scatterboo converted the 2-point try to extend the lead to 21-10. Brian. Thank you. I forgot about that one. Brian Burns sacked Herbert on the third down with 3 minutes left to force a punt, and the Giants held on despite Herbert's last gasp drive, securing their first win of this season.
Yeah, the Giants were in control in that first half, pretty much until they got that little tweak of his hamstring there, and then it was kind of they slowed down a little bit. They were still moving the ball enough to get to win field position battles, get punting them deep into their own zone there. But Dart came out like a bat out of hell here. He was trying to be Baker, but the whole time like that's fun, but you're not going to survive this game, dude. He was trying to punch people as he was running down, throwing shoulders in. The one time he got banged up, where he was upset that they took him off to check, I think for a concussion maybe, because as he was going down, he was shoving the guy in the face over and over again, and then he kind of got tackled pretty hard with his. What I'm doing is he was running the ball in his left hand and he's punching with his right hand. Like, why are you punching with your throwing hand? You stupid. I mean, it was interesting and fun, but I'm like, nothing good's gonna come of this. You're only gaining an extra yard and a half. You're gonna break your freaking hand. But it got the crowd riled up. That was for sure. He was running around a lot. That's what I was saying in that potentially scouting on this guy. He didn't pass the ball really too much at all. He was running a lot. Like if he didn't see his first or second read, he just took the ball down and ran. Of course, they use Scattaboo in the running game on the plan runs that way. But I mean, I didn't see him throw the ball too much. And I was watching this game for the most part. And but he was very, very hyper, which I thought, very energetic. Got the crowd riled up for sure. That moment when he did the punching the defender as he had a long run down the left side there, and he had to sit out a play or two as they had to check him for something. The only thing I can think of is they had to check him for a concussion because you don't have to leave the game if you keel over unless a trainer comes out. I didn't see a trainer come out. Could be mistaken. Nonetheless, then Russell Wilson came in, and you could be like, it's my time. He was warming up. All right, Russell Wilson time. They're going to love me. I'm going to score right here. He came in, fumbled the snap right away. Luckily, they recovered it. I hate to say, but Russell Wilson he's a joke, man. He's a joke. But Dart came back in, finished the game, did well. And honestly, the second half, the offense sputtered a little bit more with Dart being a little hamstrung. No pun intended, I guess. But the defense for the Giants really stood up, except they would give up one long play to Amari Hampton every other drive, which kept that game close as they were up by 12 points. Then there were Chargers were coming back, mostly on the legs of Amari Hampton. Justin Herbert didn't do too much. But they held them down at the end there with getting some stops as the Chargers had the ball twice down by 3 or so, or 3 or 4, whatever the final was in that last 6 minutes, and they ended up stopping him twice in a row. And Quentin Johnson, let's just face it, he's the number one receiver on that team in terms of production. That might be one of the best. That's my early nominee for free agent or waiver wire pickup of the year. He's scoring a touchdown in every game or getting 100 yards. He's been a stud for them.
Yeah, and he caught a nice 36-yard touchdown before halftime. Justin Herbert, though, he was under constant pressure all game from the Giants defensive line, and he couldn't find any rhythm downfield. So the Giants played good football, man. Defense played good football, and the offense, they played, decent football. I wouldn't call it good. But to not have Malik Neighbors,
oh yeah, we forgot about that. With all this excitement with Dart,
to not have him for the full game there and still come out with the victory, that's awesome. That's awesome. The only bad thing is that means that there's another week with Dayball still as your coach. All right, next week though, New York travels to New Orleans to face the Saints, and Los Angeles returns home to host Washington.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, next up we have the Eagles 31, Buccaneers 25. Eagle eye for victory. Philadelphia survives Tampa's rally and battle of unbeatens. The Eagles jumped out to a 14-0 lead after Cameron Letou blocked a punt that Sidney Brown returned 35 yards for a touchdown, followed by a Dallas Goedert 2-yard touchdown reception. Philadelphia extended the lead to 24-3 before Tampa Bay mounted a furious comeback behind Baker Mayfield, who connected with Egbuka for a 77-yard touchdown. The Eagles held on as Moro Ojomo's sack on the third down helped force the turnover on downs with under a minute left, and punter Brandon Mann took a safety with no time remaining to secure the 31-25 victory and move to 4-0.
So I was looking here. It looked like you said that the Eagles got up to that big start, and even as they're going into halftime, The Bucks had that big 65-yard kick to get some points on the board, and they were also going to get the ball to start the second half, so it was kind of a 2-for-1 in terms of possession. And the announcers were like, I don't know if they said it going into halftime or coming out. Maybe they talked to the coach in like that little halftime interview there. They're like, we saw what happened last week where we were down by a lot to the Rams and we came back. Don't think because we're up so much in this first half that Tampa Bay can't make such a run that we made last week. And that's what happened here. In the second half, Jalen Hurts had 0 completions in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw that pop up as a stat, or at least over a period of time. He didn't look at A.J. Brown hardly at all, but I will say the defensive line in that second half for the Tampa Bay Bucks really shut down the run game. They got sacks often, multiple times. Vita Vea got at least 2 sacks in that middle part of the second half to keep the Bucks in it. And if the Bucks the Bucks were scoring on huge long plays. You mentioned a 77-yard catch by Ibuka, and I think like a 65 or so 84-yard play to Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving was awesome. He got a lot of work in that
72-yard touchdown
72.
reception.
They were both long plays, right? And he was getting the ball a ton in that second half there as they were kind of maybe playing, not prevent, but a little bit back. But he was, not only was he getting the ball, but he was cutting through crowds, breaking tackles. Baker Mayfield had another one of those third down and long runs where like he's not going to make it and just crashed through people and dove over that yellow, imaginary line there. If it wasn't for the turnovers, as they were in frantic comeback mode for the whole second half, were the Bucks. And in doing so, they made a couple big mistakes. They either had big, long touchdown plays or costly turnovers, with Bucky Irving having a fumble where he made up for it with that long touchdown afterwards. And Baker, as they're getting ready to score, they're already in field goal range. At this point, they were down by, 7 to 9 points. Every point would have helped through an interception in the end zone, but they kept stopping the Eagles on defense, and they still had a chance towards the end of the game. But I think both teams were tired. They said it was over 100 degrees on the field, and both teams were kind of wearing down by the end. And you could see Baker Mayfield at the end of the game, either after a drive or at the game, he was sitting down huffing and puffing.
Yeah. It was definitely a good comeback. Baker, though, he had some bonehead mistakes in this one. He leads the team so well in these clutch moments, but sometimes he tries to do just a little bit too much, and it's such a crucial moment that the mistake is amplified more than if it was like in the first quarter or something. So, but he's Baker, and I would go into battle with Baker. So, all right.
So before we leave this game real quick, I just want to mention, You mentioned that the Eagles are 4-0. That's the second straight week. They've had a close game against a team that was undefeated coming into it against them. So they are beating quality opponents. Their last 2 wins are against teams that are 3-1. So as much as we hate it, I hate they are now worse to me than the Kansas City Chiefs, as they just don't do anything for a half. And they did have a fake tush push to give Saquon Barkley his touchdown. That was kind of I didn't like it still, but it was at least it'd be like they did something different. And then how'd you respond to that super bro celebration by the coaches after that fake tush push? That put me off a little bit. Did you happen to see that or not?
No, actually, I didn't see that.
So they called the fake tush push where Jalen Hurts gets the ball, kind of kneels forward, but he hands it off to Barkley, who's doing a sweep either behind him or right in front of him. And the coach, Sirianno, and I'm assuming the offensive coordinator, they go up like they're baseball players. They do a cross the elbow smash, high five. Yeah. Like, you guys aren't wrestlers. You guys are such bros, so basic. What are you guys doing? So like your embarrassments to I don't know. I feel like they're 12-year-olds who just did something that they just tricked a neighbor or something. I don't know.
Oh, yes. Grown men acting like children.
Yep.
All right. Next week, Philadelphia returns home to host Denver, and Tampa Bay travels to Seattle. All right. Let's wrap that game up here. All right. Next up, we have a barn burner in the next one. Not really. Titans 0, Texans 26. This was a desert drought. Texans blanked the Titans in a breakthrough shutout victory. Houston's defense delivered their first shutout in nearly 15 years, while the offense finally awakened in the fourth quarter to secure their first win of the season. The Texans managed just 2 field goals in the first half, keeping the game tight at 6-0 through 2 quarters, with neither team reaching the red zone until the final play of the third quarter. The fourth quarter belonged to Houston, though, as they scored 3 touchdowns to put the game away and match their touchdown total from their previous 3 games combined. You saw some of this game, right?
I did watch this one actually a lot. So we had Tennessee was moving the ball a little bit, but they missed their field goals. We mentioned that Joey Slides, for some reason, has been a sneaky kicking option here as they don't score touchdowns. They move the ball inside the 20s, and they did it to start with, but when they missed those kicks and then they were down that 14 zip or so, it seemed like they were toast. Cam Ward was getting sacked and throwing interceptions like he's been doing so far. Stroud did not look particularly good in that first half. He looked the same as he's been looking. He finally got some rhythm when he realized it doesn't matter what I do. They're not going to come back. Take your time, take a breath. You can do what you got to do. So that helped them out there as he finally got into rhythm a little bit by the end. What I was really watching for, though, here was the running back situation here as Woody Marks has been getting more and more playing time incrementally over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I had Chubb in my lineup because we thought they were going to be up and maybe running out some clock here. I think they might have been if they got up earlier, but they kind of were staying stagnant for a little while. And then when they realized the other team wasn't going to play, they started playing Woody Marks a lot. And at first, I thought he didn't look that good. I thought Chubb looked better. But every time Chubb had a long 20-yard run, it was a holding call, and they had to bring it back. And then they put Marks in. But Marks did catch a early screen pass for a touchdown. That was a simple play. He just was open in the flat, and then he kind of walked it in. But Woody Marks did a couple as the game went on, he looked a lot better. Now I'm nervous as a Chubb manager. I can't play Chubb anymore because they're going to go to Marks more and more. Like I said, Chubb looked the more effective to me early, just that it looked like to me they were really trying to find places to get Woody Marks onto the field. Like it wasn't just splitting, it was like, how can we get him on there? And it wasn't so effective as it started, but as they kept going, they found more opportunities to get him on there, and he was coming through. He had a huge blitz pickup where he pancake blocked the blitzer. I kind of was turning around to see, I saw him stepping up into the hole, and then I started looking at the quarterback and where the ball was going. And then when they looked back, the guy was on the ground, and then he was getting dapped up everywhere. He picked up the guy and slammed him. But he's a little guy, Woody Marks is too, in football terms. Slam the guy. So that's always good when the rookies pick up blitzes. That's a big deal to get them on the field. And then his last touchdown was another screen pass where he was a lot more electric, kind of Superman diving across the end zone. Nick Chubb's days are numbered. This is going to be a 65-35 at best in terms of Woody Marks. I think they're on bye next week. I'm not sure. They are on bye next week. But if Woody Marks is out there, I'd even pick him up now and hold him through the bye. At the very least, he's 50-50, but they're going to throw to him in the red zone. He's getting the screen passes. They give him a lot of passes. Woody Marks is the best offensive player there in terms of scheme. Nico Collins is still a man, but Stroud is not. He's not good this year, man. He's not. Like I said, he finally had a couple good throws later, but it took a long time in realizing there was no stress for him to finally settle down.
Yeah, and Woody Marks did outtouch Nick Chubb 21-15, so he's already surpassed him this game as far as touches go.
Well, he got the whole fourth quarter essentially, and like I said, there were three or four touches of Chubb that didn't count as touches because they were penalties. So they were probably closer to even going in the middle of the fourth quarter, but it was all Woody Marks that second half of the fourth quarter. They were up by then. They were trying stuff. They were like, what can we use this guy for? And they were trying to find ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, and then what were you saying? Who are they playing next week?
I have them on bye. Am I mistaken?
I don't. Maybe not. I might have mistyped something. I'm going to check real fast. Houston. I have travels to Baltimore, but I could be.
Oh, I think that's right. I think that's right.
Okay. Houston travels to Baltimore next week, and then Tennessee travels to Arizona.
Wait, no, I got Baltimore playing the Rams. Did I do this wrong? I might have done it wrong. I might have been on week 6. I could have done the wrong weeks. Okay,
yeah. No, I'm looking at it on the thing here. Yeah, Houston at Baltimore next week, and then Tennessee at Arizona next week.
I must have clicked ahead 2 weeks by accident. Okay.
No, that's okay. I'm making sure. So that's okay. We type a lot of things here, man. So sometimes we just transcribe things incorrectly. All right, moving on. Now, that was the last game in the early window. Moving on into the late window, and this one is pretty much a bummer. Colts 20, Rams 27. Atwell Heaven Rams rally past the Colts behind a late 88-yard lightning strike. The Rams dominated statistically in the first half, but were forced to settle for field goals after holding penalties deep in Colts territory. Indianapolis seized momentum midway through the fourth quarter when Michael Pittman Jr. caught a 2-yard touchdown pass to give them a 17-13 lead. The Rams responded, though, with an 83-yard drive capped by your man Puka Nakua's gritty 9-yard touchdown catch on 4th and 2 to reclaim the lead 20-17. And then after Jared versus strip sack forced the Colts to punt, Matthew Stafford launched an 88-yard touchdown bomb to Tutu Atwell with 1 minute and 33 remaining for the decisive score.
Yeah, we had this was a good game. The Colts were playing as well as they were the last 3 games. This is obviously a much better opponent than they've been playing. They've been playing some cupcakes.
Well, they didn't just. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
They didn't start well. They started pretty rough. At least Daniel Jones started pretty rough for the first 2 or 3 possessions. Go ahead.
Maybe I switched over after those early games
Yeah.
and missed a series or two. But but I felt like the Colts had both teams as the game went along.
Yeah.
Both in the middle of the game, both teams were pretty much going blow for blow, whatever was happening there. And I thought the Colts had multiple times to put this game away. They faltered. Adonai Mitchell had a game to forget. Felt bad for the man. With Alec, we mentioned as Alec Pierce being out, he was going to be the deep threat today, and he caught a deep one, went down the sideline, and went to just kind of hold the ball over his hand outstretching the goal line. As he did it, he dropped the ball through the end zone for a touchback on what was a huge. I don't know if they were. It was a close game, either tied, 4 points either way. That would have either taken the lead back or given them a bigger lead, depending on where we actually were in the game there. But that stunk. And then there was I don't think it was that bad of a. I don't think he had a penalty. I think it was a bad call or a touchy call on a huge touchdown run. I think the game was tied. Or the Colts were down, but they're trying to score to take the lead one way or the other. And Jonathan Taylor had a nice run, spun through a crowd where three guys hit each other. He spun out of it, came out clean, and went down all the way to the end zone. And you see a flag on the play. And it was Adonai Mitchell.
Run, buddy.
Yeah, Adonai Mitchell in that crowd, I guess, kind of hooked one of the defenders and kind of spun him. Didn't look that egregious to me, to be honest with you. Everyone was kind of running to the play. I don't think he sprung him really, but I'd have to see the replay 4 or 5 times. But nonetheless, he gave up a touchdown that would have taken the lead at the time, and then he also had a huge holding penalty down the field after the play was already moving to take away another go-ahead touchdown, and that just gave Stafford enough time to do what he does, and they didn't even waste any time. They went down with that. I don't know if you're watching that game. They had a play earlier where he missed Tutu Atwell like 2 drives before, and they were kind of smacking each other. You could tell they're almost talking about it on the sideline because I think it was the end of a drive, or maybe they had to kick a field goal. And he's like, "I'll get you next time," or something. Whatever they said, you can't. You could tell they're like, "That's going to be there."
Yeah, what he said was, I can beat this guy. It was, let's do this, and I will be there. You throw me open. This guy didn't have anything on me.
It was the same. He started from the same spot of the field. He went to the same spot where the ball was thrown. The target on the field. And they had a good camera angle behind Stafford. You can't see his eyes, but his head was facing Tutu Atwell the whole time. There was 2 receivers there doing a crossing pattern, so I don't know if he was looking for both or he was staring at Tutu's like, if you get by this guy, I'm just lofting it up. And then when he saw the defender trip, he didn't have to worry about any kind of super touch. He took a little less off of it and just put it out there. Because a lot of times these guys time it where they throw it before the guy turns their head. On these long plays, they start doing this sometimes, even though the ball's right there. You could tell when he saw the guy trip, Stafford waited until he turned his head to make sure they were on the same page visually. So it was an easy pitch and catch. But that almost worked earlier, and then went back to it. And when the defender fell, it made an easy big time touchdown to take the lead with a minute and a half to go, give or take.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I noticed about this game, and I think that's what puts Matthew Stafford in a elite quarterback category. Is he can make those late decision throws down the field with such power and accuracy. And Daniel Jones was trying to do that this game. Not the whole time, but certain plays, and he couldn't get it there quick enough, and the defenders were just they were just converging on that ball so much quicker with those long passes from Daniel Jones. It didn't happen a lot. He had some good passes, but those long passes where you're just waiting a little bit too long and try to get it there as quick as possible. Matthew Stafford he's so good. His arm is so strong, and he's so good.
Well, it's like with any quarterback, but obviously the better you are, the more you can handle this adversity. Daniel Jones when he has pressure is not nearly as good, and he had a lot more pressure in his face. Whether there were sacks or not, there were guys pushing up into him. He wasn't getting those running lanes that he was getting before, and when he was throwing him a little more blind, and those defensive backs were knocking him down and keying in on some of these throws.
Well, I think the problem with this game, for most of it was the Rams' defense was so much better than anything that Indy had played so far. That they were playing from like 2nd and 15 and 3rd and long, and they weren't playing from where they were normally playing those first 3 games. So it kind of I think it just threw the whole offense off their rhythm a little bit. I'm not too worried about it though. He's still
no. I mean the Rams. Let's face it, the Rams are a really good team. They should have beat the Eagles last week. So
yeah, they are a good team. It was a good game though.
Yep. All right, let's move along here. Or you can start next week if you want, obviously.
Yeah. Next week, Indy hosts the Raiders, and LA Rams host San Fran on Thursday Night Football. All right. Jaguars 26, 49ers 21. Sign language. Jaguars takeaway machine steals victory from the Niners in Santa Clara. Jacksonville's opportunistic defense delivered 4 takeaways, while Parker Washington returned a punt 87 yards for the Jaguars' first punt return touchdown in 8 seasons. The Jaguars built a 17-6 halftime lead after Travis Etienne 48-yard touchdown run, one play following Dennis Gardick's forced fumble. Then extended the advantage when Trevor Lawrence threw a 4-yard touchdown pass to Hunter Long, following Devin Lloyd's first interception. So all around team effort on this one. Washington's third quarter punt return stretched the lead to 26-14, but Brock Purdy threw a 21-yard touchdown pass to Jake Tungus with 7 minutes and 41 seconds remaining to cut the deficit to 26-21. So it was a little comeback going on here, but we can get into the whole Brock Purdy thing if you want.
Yeah, I don't care about talking about the plays of this game. I want to just talk about these teams overall, because San Francisco's got a lot of injuries. So we'll put that in the record here. Yeah. I don't think they're very good, man. All these games have been the same. They're scoring 20 points the ugliest way, only because they're giving McCaffrey the ball 30 times a game. He'll get in the end zone, but if you give anyone the ball that amount of time, they'll finally get in the end zone. Obviously, McCaffrey's good. He's the only thing that's doing anything, but he's not been very efficient. It's just a ton of volume. Brock Purdy played awful today. Tons of turnovers, but he's coming off the injury here, which you were mentioning with Mac Jones. Maybe should have been there one more week, although Mac Jones is banged up as well. I don't think San Francisco is very good. I think we have to come to the realization here that the Jacksonville defense might be pretty good. They've lost some of these games, but all their games are 21-17 every single game, and it's usually the last score that gets it to that point. These games are always 17-16 throughout most of the game. The punt return by Washington was huge. That was the only offense in the second half. Once again, Trevor Lawrence on this dud list. We have actually I didn't pick up this game till the second half, so I didn't realize Travis Hunter didn't play the first half. Hunter was getting open all the time, and Lawrence was just missing him. Same with Brian Robinson. That's why they started giving him handoffs and jet sweeps, because Lawrence can't hit these guys. This is like Tua. I'm not saying that they're the same player, but this is Tua's worst year, not statistically, but when you watch them play. I don't know if this is Lawrence's worst statistical year. It's on its way, but he doesn't look good, man. He's not a good quarterback for whatever reason. Jacksonville's defense is good. Their running game is their best part of their offense, and I think San Francisco is not good either, because they barely beat the Saints. They barely beat Seattle, who I think is okay, and they lost today to Jacksonville. And they had the easiest schedule. They're playing easy teams, and they're not coming through.
Yeah, with Jacksonville, I'm gonna not blame any of the players for anything that they're doing. I'm gonna blame the coaching staff.
Oh yeah,
because we've already seen so much of Trevor Lawrence. Now he's not elite, but he's not this bad. He's a good quarterback. He can get the ball where it needs to go. He can make quick decisions. He's somewhat mobile. He's a tough guy. So I'm chalking this up right now for whatever reason is going on in either the quarterback room, the offensive coordinator, the coach.
Do you know who their coordinator is?
I don't know, honestly.
I do.
Not off the top of my head.
You want me to tell you?
Who is it?
Shane Waldron.
Oh,
from Chicago last year who didn't make it through the
yeah.
season.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
That makes more sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Anything else you want to say about Ricky Parasol or anything?
They were really banged up. I do want to say one little thing about that. They both
Yeah.
were banged up quite a bit. There was a reporter who asked Jawan Jennings after the game what his availability might be for next week, and he just responded, "Nah, bro." I don't know what that means. He was in pain. I don't think it was a rib injury. I think he got a kidney punch because he was really doubled over there, and he got hit right in the back of the side there, where unprotected. But all I'm going to say about the injuries there for the receivers are obviously in and out. They were banged up. They were both questionable. Brandon Ayuk is going to come back. Again, this offense is awful. I actually don't want a piece of the San Francisco offense when usually we do. But there's a chance if they get themselves back together with George Kittle coming back and maybe Ayuk. Ayuk might have some potential value. He might actually, because these other receivers are either banged up or not taking full advantage. There's a spot for Ayuk to become that number one receiver once again for San Francisco if they can turn it around.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So next week, Jacksonville hosts Kansas City on Monday Night Football. And like we said, last game, San Francisco visits the Rams for Thursday Night Football. All right. Next up, we got two more games to get to here.
Yep.
Ravens 20, Chiefs 37. Mahomes Magic. Chiefs torch injury ravaged Ravens in Arrowhead route. Patrick Mahomes threw for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns as Kansas City's offense scored on its first 4 possessions, building a 20-7 first half lead that Baltimore could never overcome. The Chiefs' offense had been inconsistent through the first 3 weeks, but found its rhythm with Harrison Butker knocking through a pair of field goals before Mahomes hits Juju and Isaiah Pacheco with touchdown passes. Lamar Jackson threw for 147 yards with a touchdown and his first interception of the season before hurting his hamstring midway through the third quarter. Though by that point, the game was mostly decided with Cooper Rush playing the rest of the way.
Did Tyquan Thornton score a touchdown again this week?
Tyquan Thornton.
I thought he did.
Maybe.
And if so,
yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
So that's his third straight game with a touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs, whatever that's worth. He was kind of hitting his, except for Worthy, who got in there a little bit, but he was mixed up with the run and pass, and totally had yards, but it wasn't a straight in the receiving game. But he was spreading the ball around, not hitting the main guys, unless you consider Tyquan Thornton the main guy, which you might have to at this point. Kelsey was just kind of part of the system here, but not really a big-time player. The running backs didn't do too much except for Pacheco getting in the end zone, but their yards weren't very good. But the thing I did notice, this is one of the first games, if not the first game, where Mahomes got his damage without having to run the ball this time. He actually was throwing the ball around. He wasn't running, which, I mean, it's nice when they run for stats, but he's not going to survive a season he's a little too old to be a running quarterback this much. And he's been on the top performer list here, or he's been a stud 3 out of 4 weeks. So is Mahomes back? You might have to say yes, at least in terms of stats. This was a pressure-filled game for these two teams as they both came in with losing records. And the loser of this game was going to be not in great shape here in terms of a playoff outlook, although a little better for Baltimore because their division's not quite as good. But Baltimore is desperate right now. They're falling apart. Derrick Henry for the third straight game is not doing too much, or at least the second 2 out of 3 games here is not doing too much. So
yeah, the offense is struggling for sure. With Lamar getting sidelined, that's also going to be a huge hit. But their defense, dude, Baltimore's defense already decimated by injuries here. The linebacker Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins got hurt. That leaves the Ravens without 7 defensive starters by the early minutes of the fourth quarter here. So it's a pretty big injury situation. So I think they need to definitely beat the bad teams if they have any coming up.
Right.
And they're going to have to play like lights out football at the end of the season if they want to make this playoff push.
Yeah, I was actually looking to maybe try and make. I didn't think about it until too late in the week to make a sneaky trade to get Pacheco, realizing that the Baltimore defense is actually starting to fall apart. But but Pacheco's been so bad, and it shows you that maybe regardless of the defense, the running game really isn't that good for Kansas City either. But if you've got other players, other decent running back or running games, you might want to target them in your lineups against Baltimore heading forward.
Yeah, for sure. And then Patrick Mahomes, four touchdown passes to four different receivers. So starting Patrick Mahomes with his receiving core is a good thing. Figuring out who's going to catch the touchdowns is going to be a tricky thing going forward.
And then in terms of in terms
Yeah,
of
you're good.
Lamar Jackson's injury, it's just too early to say. There's been speculation all over the place that this, we had Mike Evans, for example, the hamstring injury missing at least this week. This might be who knows. It's quarterback's a little different. You can not run around. I know he's a running quarterback, but you can take shots in the snap gun and kind of work yourself around some stiffness there. But being that he is an athletic quarterback, he might be in the. We'll update you through the week, but he might be missing 2 to 5 weeks here, guys. Don't be surprised if he's out at least the next 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, just keep an eye. Cooper Rush is obviously this going to start. Who's their third quarterback? Who's on their practice squad? Who's available out there that they might bring in? Because this is their year. They just gotta get into the playoffs and make that push healthy. All right. Next week, Baltimore hosts Houston, and Kansas City, like we said, Monday Night Football. They visit Jacksonville.
All right.
Last game we have to talk about here. The Bears 25, the Raiders 24. Another desert escape. Bears block Raiders' revenge in the Sin City thriller. Chicago jumped ahead early with the defensive takeaways fueling field goals, but Las Vegas countered with explosive plays from rookie sensation who? Ashton Genty. The game featured wild momentum swings with the Raiders building leads only to see the Bears claw back. Chicago's defense generated 4 takeaways for the second consecutive week, while the offense struggled to find rhythm in the first half with just 2 yards rushing. The fourth quarter became a back-and-forth battle, with both teams trading scores before a dramatic final sequence sealed the outcome.
All right, so there's a lot in this game, and we're running a long time, so I'm just going to kind of bullet point this as quick as I can do it, which is I'm not always successful at that, I admit. So anyway,
to do it.
so anyway, we had just starting off with the defensive line here for the Raiders. Max Crosby, one of your favorite players, just kept batting the ball down from Caleb Williams. We always say he has that kind of low sling line drive throw, and it seems like Max Crosby was looking for it. He batted down at least 3 passes, maybe 4, including one where he was able to wrangle it for an interception. He almost had an interception on another one of those bat downs. So keep with that. Caleb Williams didn't look great. He had some athletic moments. He had another strike to Roma Dunze for a touchdown. I thought Swift looked pretty good more in the passing game. I'm actually impressed with Swift's receiving because he's catching these line drives. The type of throw that Caleb Williams does is not very catchable for running backs. He throws a hard line drive, but Swift's been putting him away, so that's pretty impressive there. Geno Smith was a mess, throwing interception after interception, although I will say at least 2 of those interceptions were by the same player, and both of them were Superman diving catches, but they were coming down. They could see where he was going, and the reason they were able to get Superman dives because they were sprinting down from far away, knowing where he was going, getting a read on the play, and with that speed of the sprint, they were able to get a pretty impressive dive on 2 of those catches. So kudos to the Bears defensive backs making easy reads but tough catches with athletic catches there. Ashton Genty was the only thing going. If it wasn't for the fact that 2 of his 3 touchdowns were receptions, Geno Smith would have had nothing. He barely had 100 yards today. And the Bears defense held up, getting. Both defenses had some big time plays with knockdowns and turnovers, but it was all Ashton Genty today. Gave him the ball, he get 80 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards every time he touched it. He was a stud today.
Yeah, for sure. But you were right. Both defenses actually played pretty decent. I'm waiting for Las Vegas's defense to just come alive. I think they will. I just, I don't know when and I don't know why. But Geno looked real rough early in this game.
All right, that's all I got.
That's all you got. All right. Next week, Chicago enters their bye week and Las Vegas travels to Indy.
Actually, one more thing about that game real quick. I was watching it. No, I know. But once I was watching because I was waiting for the games to end so I could start getting these stats together, these final stats,
Yeah.
And I was watching it in the old man chair, and I didn't see the block kicked. I saw them go up to get ready for the field goal. I thought they were gonna. I didn't see them line up for the field goal. I fell asleep in that last 30 seconds of the game, and I'm like, what happened? And I saw they blocked the kick to us to survive the victory. Did the Bears?
I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes.
There you go.
All right. Sunday night, Green Bay and Dallas. And then Monday, doubleheader, New York Jets at Miami and Cincinnati at Denver.
And at the moment, we have the late hit. We've got a Green Bay's down with 2 minutes to go, down by 3 points. Is there a chance Green Bay might lose back-to-back weeks to Dallas and Cleveland after such an impressive start to their season? We'll see. We'll let you know in our next show. But my gosh, Green Bay's playing well, but not really holding back the Dallas offense. All right, let's get into some early waiver wire thoughts here. We're do this as best we can here. I've got what do you have for quarterbacks for early waiver wire thoughts?
All right, quarterbacks. Mariota, Aaron Rodgers, possibly. They both played decent ball. I would stay away from Joe Flacco. I probably wouldn't pick up Cooper Rush. So I would just circle Mariota and Rodgers on my list.
So you can double check me because I had my schedule mixed up here. I have I have Pittsburgh on a bye next week, correct?
Hold on.
Because they just played in Europe.
Yeah, didn't I just say that? What did I just
say?
Yeah,
you did, but I've got half of these right, half of these wrong, and that's why I'm kind of double checking myself here. Anyway, so you got Aaron Rodgers out there. He's playing okay, but on the bye week, you can't play him anyway next week, so that's that. We have Jaden Daniels is probably coming back next week, although who knows? So Mariota there. I've got Jackson Dart. If you haven't picked him up yet, he's going to run until he gets hurt. He's going to get some rushing stats here, and you might have to play Cooper Rush. He's the only one who might start next week out of these guys who are actually going to play. All right, what running backs do you have for potential pickups for this week?
All right, running backs. Who do we have here? We have, well, if Derrick Henry is not going to do anything, Justice Hill might be somebody that you might want to circle. Xavier Scott, Minnesota running back, probably not. Kendra Miller actually looked good. New Orleans running back, but New Orleans offense is going to struggle, I think, still. And Spencer Rattler might take some of that rushing ability away from him. But Kendra Miller looked decent in this game. That's really it, though. I don't have anything else. Maybe Antonio Gibson as a stash, but that's really it. You know what? Raheem Mostert got some work today, but again, I don't even know if he's a handcuff to Genty.
Mostert looked like Mostert. I mean, he's an aged guy, so he doesn't have he's not as explosive as Genty, but he had a lot of nice runs.
Amari DeMarcado is still out there as well.
Okay. I'm going to mention some guys that might be taking your league, but double check just in case. Chris Rodriguez has not been impressive in terms of production, but he is getting the first carries for the Commanders here. And with Daniels getting back sooner than later, hopefully you might have a more balanced attack here. Justice Hill, you mentioned. I have Woody Marks out there. He's probably picked up in a lot of leagues, but if he hasn't been picked up, you've got to pick him up now. He's definitely a 50-50 split. And like I said, it wasn't just circumstance. You could tell they were trying to get him into the game in certain situations. It wasn't just take a break here. It's your turn, his turn. It was like, we got to play here for Woody Marks. Let's put him in. So he's already getting the 50-50 split, and they're going to put him in these high leverage situations as well. All right, what do you have for some receivers that might be out there?
So I got 3 receivers. 2 of them are tight ends. You might want to look at the matchups and see what your bye weeks look like coming forward here. Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, and then I've got Tutu Atwell on there, but he's not going to be consistent. And that's the only problem.
I was kind of frowning on the Hunter Henry thing. Like, we've seen him get big games before, and then he doesn't do it again.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the primary target, but he's effective. And the way May is spreading the ball around, he's hitting his tight ends. He hit both tight ends for touchdowns today, if I'm not mistaken. He's spreading the ball around, and he's hitting that tight end. So don't be afraid of Hunter Henry. I mean, don't expect what you're going to expect here. But they're playing Buffalo, which always makes me a little nervous. I'm not sure how good Buffalo's defense is, but we know it's a tough matchup in terms of just a tough-nosed team. I still got Christian Watson out there. Now his 4 games are up after tonight here, so assuming he'll be activated here. Again, there's a lot of receivers for Green Bay, but he's going to be one of them, so that's someone you can consider. And I think that's it for my receivers. I've got a couple defenses here if you want me to run through them real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I got the New York Giants. You double-check my schedule here because I messed up. New York Giants, I have them playing New Orleans next week, correct?
That is correct.
So I got the Giants against New Orleans, and you can also pick New Orleans against the Giants. Jackson Dart is a rookie. There's always a chance for these rookies to make big-time mistakes. So that game could just be a mess. I don't know who's going to win or who's better, but it could just be a messy game, and you might get lucky. I've got Carolina. We saw their potential on defense, and we also saw how bad they could be, but they're playing Miami next week. There's always some fun and a chance to play against Miami's offense right now if they don't turn it around. And Indianapolis Colts defense has been playing pretty well, but they're playing Las Vegas, and if Geno Smith can't right the ship here, he just seems to be throwing interceptions willy-nilly. So those are some defenses. The Giants, the Saints, the Panthers, these are all in a pinch. Streaming guys, and Indianapolis Colts are some defenses you might want to look at.
Yep, and Dallas will be playing at the Jets.
Okay, very good. All right, guys, thank you so much. I know we went a little long today, but keep in mind there have been no bye weeks, so we're going through an extra 3 games a week here, if not more. So hopefully going on from week 5 and on, we'll be able to shave off a good 12 minutes out of here. But we went through a lot. We vented a little bit here, and I hope you enjoyed the deep dive in some of these games. And this was definitely more of a conversation this time, Bernie. I appreciated that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So if you guys would like, I want to thank you all for joining us and or watching and listening another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Wingman, the League, and we'll come to the top of your search. Also, if you want to see these pretty faces, I think we're not glitching anymore. I think we might have fixed it. For now, you can go to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you get over there, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment, and we'll get you into our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And Boops, I don't like it when you win.
Oh, you're going to make me do it.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he
All right, we'll see you next time, guys.
waddle.